doom metal, power metal, melodeath, and more. Got 15 albums to talk about here on Out Today and What I Missed.
Guess how many boobs I saw today, Marge? 15!
First up today, we got Fur Gallico with Future to Come. This Italian power metal band's fourth album continues on with the trend of their Celtic power metal sound and folk metal, but also shines a little bit more of what they're capable of. It's everything that you've loved about the band, but just a little bit more modernized, a little catchier, production sounds fantastic, and really makes you want more of that folk metal sound that I wish was continuing on to this day. If you've never checked out this band before, but if you like the likes of Helveti, you'll find something to really appreciate here.
May we help you, strange ones?
We are travelers from the past, my good runt.
Coming up next is the band Hamfer, with an album title I'm going to translate from Pharisee, but the hand of the Lord is strong. To take place in the Faroe Islands, this concept album describes the war that happened in the Faroe Islands, but describes it in such great detail, musically and lyrically. The music matches the tone so very, very well. It is dark, it is brooding, it is that death doom that I love so much from the band. And this is some of the best material the band has ever done to date. And if you're looking for some, very war-themed, very historical death doom, you gotta go with Hamfer.
Daddy, all the fumes are making me dizzy.
Well, now, Roddy, the Lord wouldn't let us die this way.
That's right, Ned. Now you three take a little nap while I make some hot chocolate.
Yay!
Up next, we have Hammer King with their sixth album, König and Kaiser. This is some of the best material the band has ever done. Taking a couple years off to be able to write this album, and of course the pandemic, has really made this album so very, very strong. Taking war elements and of course the Hammer King going into much different territory, from Arabia to Atlantia, to even what feels like a cyberpunk kind of feel. Everything feels so perfectly with this album. It has such a great diverse feel behind it, but it feels like Hammer King through and through. Titan Fox V and company have come through once again to create some of the best power metal of the year. All you gotta do is check it out for yourself.
Sorry I'm tardy, old bean. I was just enjoying a rather tasty watercress sandwich.
Next up, we have the brand new project known as Holler with Rebirth. When Terrence Holler left the Italian progressive power metal band Eldritch back in 2022, he wanted to create some solo music, and it definitely went into a different direction. Rather than progressive power metal, it decided to go into a more 80s AOR feel. You can feel the neon spread throughout this entire album. This couldn't be more 80s if Madonna wanted to dress you up in her love. This is a great love letter to that genre while still sounding quite contemporary and enjoyable for modern audiences. It's very strange to see him go in this direction knowing where he was in the past, but I really dig what's going on here. And if you want that throwback to what, is 40 years ago now, give this one a shot.
Meanwhile, we shall sing top hits from the 80s.
Which 80s, sir?
For me, there are only one 80s.
Next up is the band Leaves Eyes with Myths of Fate. The ninth album from this band is kind of a renaissance for the band, where you can really hear the old school feel of what's going on with them. Of course, with the band being around over 20 years now, they wanted to be able to harken back to some of the earlier material, show off what they're doing in the present day, and potentially what to look forward to in the future. Of course, with Liv Christine not being in the band for the past few albums, I know there is a bit of a polarizing feel with this, but I still think you should give this a chance. And if you've never checked out the band before, if you enjoy the works of anything from Epica Metallica to Nightwish, you're going to be able to find something to at least appreciate here, if not enjoy further. It may not be for everybody, but I still think if you like that symphonic gothic metal sound, give this new album a shot and get that retrospective of Leaves' Eyes with brand new material. Next up is the debut album from Canada's own Omnified, with A Tale of Fire. This is some progressive death metal and technical death metal done to an absolute T. I can hear as much Opeth influence in here as I do Obscura, and that can really throw some people for a loop, but I think they do it in a way that is really satisfying. You can hear them go over the top on the fretboards and do an insane blast beats, but you also hear that melancholic melodies and harmonies throughout that really makes the music stand out compared to their contemporaries. And considering this is just a debut album, there is so much room for growth, and I can't wait to see what will be happening on subsequent albums. But until then, if you're looking for that pure, raw intensity with some really melancholic feels, you'd need to give this one a shot.
I'm alright, folks, thanks to my Omnigogs.
A little late for Lenny.
So that's all the stuff that came out today, but what about what I missed?
What I missed?
First up is After Infinity with their self-titled debut.
Is it time to live without you? Is it worth the fight that we're going through?
Some Finnish power metal here, and it's so great to see that resurgence of Finnish power metal here in 2024. This stuff keeps a modern tinge, but also harkens back to the glory days of power metal as well. And when you have so many great Finnish voices from bands like Dreamtale, you're doing something incredibly right. I love what's going on here. It's super catchy, it's got some great production behind it, and again, with it being a debut album, I am so curious to see what's going to be happening with this band in the future. Stuff here, and yeah, I can't wait to see what's next.
A solar eclipse. The cosmic ballet goes on.
Does anyone want to switch seats?
Up next is Bloodshift with their third album, Cosmic Grave. This is brand new material to me, and I'm really enjoying what I'm hearing from this band. It has that element of horror punk that you would find in a lot of bands like the Casualties or the Misfits, but it also has like a heavy metal and, dare I say, doom metal feel behind it as well. The songs are a bit longer than what you would hear in punk, but it's nowhere near as long as you would hear in some of the grandiose heavy metal, doom metal sounds. It feels like it's perfectly right in the middle, and when you add that horror aspect and all of the lyrical concepts, it makes it a very intriguing listen. I'm surprised this is coming out in the middle of March instead of closer to October, but hey, it's plenty of time to be able to get that ready for your Halloween trick-or-treat list. But also until then, give this one a shot if you enjoy your horror punk and heavy metal. You'll find something to enjoy here.
No! Blood!
Next up, we have some brand new Polish power metal with Eagle the White in the Divine Comedy. This debut Polish power metal album is something that is quite intriguing to me, kind of like I talked about in another sense in a previous review, where I talk about war being a central theme. And of course, this isn't like Sabaton style power metal. This is more of a traditional style power metal with some more war themes going on within it. And I do appreciate that this kind of touch with it. And as you don't hear a lot of power metal coming out of Poland, it's a very intriguing listen when it comes to that as well. But also there's some great soaring vocals, the compositions are very well made. The production is a bit raw, but I also think it really adds to the atmosphere of the album. If you're looking for something a little bit different in your power metal, but still a bit more traditional, give this band a shot.
When you do things right, people won't be sure you've done anything at all.
Next up, we have the band Einvigi with Monochroma. And I had no idea this album even came out until after it came out, and I'm very disappointed in myself as I love their previous album so very, very much. But this was more than worth the wait. I love everything that's going on here, from its post-black, black gaze sound, to its folk metal elements, to, of course, that alternative rock kind of production and songwriting style that is very captivating to those that aren't even into this particular genre. Everything about this is so cool to listen to, and even though I don't understand a lick of what they're saying as it's all in full-on Finnish, I love the emotion that's being drawn out throughout the vocals and the musical compositions. It really grabs your heart even if you don't understand the Finnish language, and if you're looking for something that has that kind of extreme kind of feel mixed with Alcest, and even, I dare say, that 90s alternative sound, I think you found something really cool here. And yeah, listen to it and see for yourself.
Why all the black?
Why all the pearls? Why all the hair? Why anything?
Up next, we have Eternal Autumn with Below the Lightless Heavens. This is the band's return album after nearly a quarter of a century, coming in at 24 years ago. And it's great to see this band, who really did start out in that 90s Swedish, Scandinavian melodeath sound, and hearing what they're doing in 2024. Of course, you can hear that modern day sound to an extent, but it still does have that great old feel of like the early day Dark Tranquillity at the gates, and even some Opeth moments when they get some acoustic stuff going on. It's dark, it's heavy, it has melodeath, and that great acoustic sound behind it as well. I know this one might be going under the radar for a lot of people, but if you really enjoy the 90s metal scene over in Scandinavia, you really need to give this album a shot, as it is a very raw underground album that might be just what you're looking for.
15 minutes from now, I will wreak a terrible vengeance on this city. No one will be spared. No one!
Coming up next is Licebearer, with a name that I cannot pronounce, so I had to translate it into English from Danish, with the album title, Like a Light in the Night, We All Must Find Salvation. And it's funny, that's a very powerful, uplifting statement, but it's also done through atmospheric black metal and post-metal, which you wouldn't necessarily think would fit into something like that, but hey, that's how it works. The vocals on this album might be a bit polarizing for some people. It really has that very stretched out black metal feel behind it, and the music doesn't necessarily match up with it, but if you listen to it enough times, I think you'll be able to see what they're going for here. It's kind of a polarizing album, but I think it's something that people might enjoy if you like things a bit more on the extreme side. You really like that post-metal, black metal feel behind it that's not necessarily in the post-black or black gaze feel. It's done in its own kind of way. So give this one a shot if you're feeling a bit saucy.
Why are you dedicating your life to blasphemy?
Don't worry, sweetheart. If I'm wrong, I'll recant on my deathbed.
Up next is the band The More with Umbra.
Non lascia mai le storie passate.
And this might be my favorite release that I talk about this week. It's been a bit of time since their previous album, Jupiter's Immigrants, and that review, I actually coined the phrase progressive dark metal, which they seem to fully embrace and start even categorizing themselves as, which I feel very thankful for. And with this particular album, they definitely continue on with the progressive and dark metal feels behind it. You can hear parts of, like, say, Nevermore. You can also hear Hypocrisy on this album. There's a little bit of Opeth feel behind it, and of course their own sound from The More. Everything that I loved so much about their previous album, they seem to amp up and change just enough to make this album its own entity and make it truly stand out in this style. And if you're looking for something with that really dark feel behind it, with just enough prog behind it, I definitely implore you to go check out The More and Umbra. It's definitely going to be one of my favorite albums of 2024. But what about you?
That's so black. It's like, how much more black could this be? And the answer is none.
Up next is Oblivion Winters with their sophomore album, 'Tis the Season for Sadness. This is The band's sophomore album, 14 years after their debut album, and sometimes it takes, the better half of 20 years to be able to get something done, but I'm very glad to see that this thing came out. It can be a little bit polarizing with their style of almost funeral doom metal, but I really appreciate what's going on here with its atmosphere, its songwriting. The vocals are a bit polarizing as well too, but if you dig the style, I think you're going to be able to find something to appreciate here. It is slow, brooding, and just like the album title suggests, it is a nice cheery album. I'm sorry, I mean it is a very sad album, and it really does make you have a lot of feelings come attached with it. Again, I think this is another great one for all of the dark, brooding doom metal fans out there. Yeah, listen to this one and see what you think. And finally today, we're ending with the most brutal album that I'm talking about this week. It is Shock Withdrawal with the Dismal Advance. Three-piece band that just absolutely captures everything that you can love about grindcore, grindgore, death metal, extreme metal, with shorter songs, a bit of a shorter album, but everything is laid on display. Punches you in the face, it tears your soul apart, and it leaves you wanting more. If you're looking for something of more of like that cattle decapitation kind of sound, aborted, but you want it a bit shorter, kind of like some Napalm Death, this is an album that you need to check out. This trio is absolutely insane and has created a masterpiece of extreme metal. All you need to do is check it out for yourself.
What that person on your tape has is a medical disorder.
And there you go, folks, all the albums that I've checked out that came out today and what I missed. So what do you think? Was there some good albums? Was there some bad albums? Is there some stuff you're going to check out? Some stuff you're going to avoid like the plague? Is there some stuff that I personally missed? Is all of this terrible and my opinion is terrible? Let me know all of that down below. Of course, like, comment, share, subscribe, all of that good stuff. We're inching ever closer to my goal of being 1 subscriber ahead of my hometown of Clear Lake, Wisconsin. We're almost there. So until then, or at least until next week for the next episode of Out Today and What I Missed, for the Heavy Debriefings YouTube channel, this is Josh Runquist saying, embrace the skullet.
Well, that's the end of me.